What's up, everybody? Peter McKinnon here. Welcome back to yet another video. And today we're talking about how I quit digital photography for an entire year. And this is what it taught me. So a little over a year ago, I wanted to challenge myself to figure out how to be a better photographer. At what point in your career do you decide, how do I elevate? How do I take the next step to get better at my craft? It's something you just don't typically think about all that often. You get busy with work and then you get excited that you're getting booked and people are paying you money and you're shooting photos, and why do you need to get better? It's working. I think it usually takes someone else or something else to inspire you to then look inward and think to yourself, oh, wow, there is actually lots of improvement that could be done with my own work. And that's what I was thinking. It's what I was feeling inside. I think a lot of people probably just expect that they'll naturally get better by doing nothing and expecting different results. At least that was the case for me. So as the story goes, I decided to pick up film photography. I made a video called Quitting Digital Photography. Because in a sense, I did. I figured the only way I would be able to commit to this and put both feet in is if I truly put both feet in. That principle has applied to many things in my life, YouTube included. Back when I was deciding to be a full-time YouTuber, a full-time creator, I had my interests split, and I knew that if I wanted to pursue this full-time and really give it the best chance it has, I needed to put both feet in. So with that being said, I hung up my digital camera, I bought a ton of film, and I dove in head first. I shot 365 days plus of only film. That was a huge learning curve. And did it make me a better photographer? Well, stay tuned to the end to find out. But what I've done is compiled the list of pros and cons. Things that I think film was great for, what it did for me, and then a list of cons that I think were downfalls, shortcomings of film, things it didn't do for me, reasons I wish I had still been shooting digital. And I think if anyone's on the fence with how to become a better artist, be it that you decide to pick up film or not, that's besides the point. I think these principles will help you level up. I think they'll help you progress in your craft. And that's always what this channel has been about. I made a bunch of notes on the new iPad Pro. I have thoughts on this. I'm compiling them. I'm in the middle of that right now. Okay, let's start with the cons of shooting film. If you are at all in the market for doing this, this will help you. Airport travel is a huge con. Sometimes it can be easy. Most of the times, it's a total pain in the ass. Every time you go through the airport, you gotta present your film to TSA or whatever security agent is there. Is there gonna be a language barrier? Is it backed up and super busy and they just don't hand check it for you? You want to avoid having it scanned in the X-ray. And there's two types of machines. There's an X-ray that takes a top-down picture, and there's a CT scanner. A lot of those are in Europe. That will destroy your film. Usually if you ask for your film to be hand-checked, they have to do it. You've got it in a clear plastic bag so they can see it. They'll still take out every single piece, swab each one of them, make sure you're good, and then move you on your way. So you always want it to get hand-checked so you don't lose your photos or lose your film before you even take your photos. It's just the anxiety that even comes with that portion of travel makes the process pretty miserable. Okay, another con. I probably shot a little less, to be honest. And I guess that's a con and a pro, but what I mean is, not that I took less pictures physically while I was out on a shoot, I just don't take as many photos now because of the process. Shooting the pictures, sending them off to get developed, scanned, getting them back, taking the film down, loading, wanting to not be wasteful. All of those things lead to just kind of less photo shoots in general. I use my phone a lot more for just random moments, and the times I would take my camera out were fewer than when it was digital and I could just spray away and it didn't matter. Next up, wet and shitty conditions. If it's pouring rain, if it's any bit wet, misty, anything like that, I typically don't shoot. just because the equipment is delicate and I don't want it to get ruined, and it's not weather sealed like an R3 is weather sealed or a modern day camera is weather sealed. I'm used to that. Get splashed, nothing that can hold you back. With these cameras, if it's really wet and garbage, you're kind of protecting it, which can get annoying. That leads to the next con, which is the equipment in general is just a little more delicate. If you have a medium format rangefinder camera, if you set your bag down too hard, you could literally misalign the rangefinder patch and then have to send that out to get repaired and then find people that can repair these cameras. And you just want to be very careful with this equipment. So when you're traveling a ton, when you're shooting a ton, being mindful of that, when people are jamming their bags into the overhead and your stuff's in your backpack, you're a little more stressed out with the gear because it's harder to get fixed. It's probably more expensive to get fixed, and you just don't want to have to even bother with that. Okay, here's a big one. Film is expensive. It costs a lot of money to shoot Portra 800, send it to a lab, have it processed and scanned. Depends how fast you want it. Do you want it same day? Do you want it next day? Do you want to pay for just JPEGs or do you want to pay for TIFFs? The whole process from buying it to getting it back on your computer costs a lot of money per roll. That can be a big deterrent for a lot of people shooting film. One more con, again, maybe this is a gray area, but I'm editing a lot less. So that's good and that's bad because like I like to nail it in camera and get closer and as close as I can in camera, but I'm also not polishing my editing skills. I haven't really used Lightroom or Photoshop all that much at all in the past year. I'm not super up to date with whatever new features are available, and where that, yes, is a good thing because I'm trying to focus more on my skill within the camera and nailing it right the first time without even having to do any editing. And it's great when that happens, like really, really great. But I miss it. Editing's fun. I love getting a coffee, sitting down and just editing photos for hours. I still edit my film scans, but nowhere to the degree I used to edit my digital photos. So again, maybe that's like a little in between. All right, before we get to the pros, thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. Where can people find you? Can they book you? If someone wanted to hire you right now that wasn't physically standing in front of you, what would you do? What would they do? With Squarespace, you can have all of that dialed before the day is over. You can even have appointments. People can book in client appointments for you and do that all automated through your site. So you just get a pop-up and it's done. Online stores, that's obvious, selling prints, all of the things. Speaking of stores, they've got a lot of flexible payment options so your customers can check out with a variety of different ways. And they've got a brand new guided system called Blueprint. And that's how you can choose from beautiful layouts, templates, curated designs, and that's optimized for every device. Obviously, devices are coming out constantly, so no matter what screen size you're using or your potential clients are using, it's gonna look good. Not like half of your face and then like your lips are on your iPad and your eyes are, on the next browser tab. Blech. Integrated SEO tools so when you do launch your website, you can be discovered. 'Cause otherwise, what's the point? Show up more often, to more people, and grow the way you want. If that sounds good, you can hit the link in my bio, squarespace.com/McKinnon, and get 10% off your first purchase when you sign up. Before the day's over, you could have all those things up and running. So thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring today's video and being a general channel sponsor since the beginning of time. Love ya. Okay, let's talk about some pros. This is where I really feel like I started to learn, grow, and develop as a photographer by pushing myself. One of the first pros is I came away with way more photos. So even though I was shooting less, I had a much higher yield. Because I was taking my time and crafting each shot to make each individual frame of a roll different, you shoot one roll of 35mm film, you've got 36 different photos. Whereas when I was shooting digital, I might just have 36 photos of the same thing. So when you're editing, you're kind of just culling through hundreds of photos that are identical, that have micro movements of each individual frame before you get the one that you like. Then you edit that one and the rest you never see again. Whereas with film, I would get 36 pictures back and I might be happy with 30 of them, which ends up being a much higher yield of photos that are usable. That's also slowed me down in posting just because I have too much to post that I end up posting nothing, but that's definitely a pro. You come away with way more. So I've saved a lot of those for the photo book. Now this is the general theme, but like I learned photography better. In shooting film, it really highlights highlights your weaknesses that digital hides. Being able to just crank shutters to 8,000, spraying hundreds and hundreds of photos at insane frame rates, and then editing your way to whatever outcome that you want. That, I think, begins to make you a bit of a lazy photographer, and you rely on those tools to do the work for you, and you're not really honing or polishing the true aspects of photography. You're letting the software do it for you. Now, everyone shoots different and everyone has different editing styles. That is not a blanket statement towards every photographer in existence, but it definitely applied to me, which means it would apply to some of you as well. Third pro, I just enjoyed photography more, slowing down and getting to know it better, taking my time with photos. The process of capturing pictures, making photographs, that just started to become something that I really cherished because I was doing less of it and I was taking my time. It's like it became less commodified, and that really made me love it more. There are legitimate days where I would wake up and just think like, I hope I get to use my camera today for something cool. That would be real nice. And I don't remember feeling that last year or years before that. Maybe when I first got into photography, but certainly not for a while. It got me into photo books, being able to explore photographers, old, gone, past, present, explore their work, explore their craft, really dive into the meaning of photos, finding traits and things within photographers' work. It's a fantastic way to get inspired and see photography that is anything other than scrolling on your phone endlessly. You end up seeing just carbon copies of everything over and over and over, and there's not much to get inspired by, but going back to the roots, to photo books, something that an artist has spent a lot of time meticulously crafting together so each photo works with the next one or has a message, or maybe it doesn't, but maybe that's for you to figure it out. The work involved in exploring artists' work was so much more fulfilling going down the road of photo books, and I don't plan on stopping, and I've got lots of ideas when it comes to this topic, but that is definitely a pro. I'll leave it there because I could make an entire video just on that itself. Okay, here's a big one. I loved not having to charge gear. I did not have to worry about batteries. There's a couple little like watch batteries that I would toss in my camera bag in case your light meter dies, but I've yet to have that happen. I don't have to put anything on charge. I don't have to worry about overheating. I don't have to worry about leaving the camera on. Gone are the days. That has been absolutely fantastic. Another pro is the gear is generally smaller. So my travel, I did a lot of travel last year, and having a much smaller kit was incredible. Mostly just range finders and small point and shoots, with the exception obviously of some medium format cameras, depending on which ones you buy. I was using the Mamiya 7 II mostly, which is a very small rangefinder style, compact medium format camera. So being able to bring way more cameras and still have a smaller kit was very, very helpful, and it let me explore photography in more places, in more ways, without destroying my back and literally having to open 15 bags at security. Now this is a pro, but it's kind of a con. Making fatal mistakes. When you forget to wind a roll and you shoot all day long, and then you go to wind it back and you realize you didn't do it right in the first place and you've lost the entire day of photos. Now, if you're doing professional work, that's a whole different story. You should probably be also shooting digital, something to guarantee you're coming away with work that people are paying you for. But for just general travel and then learning you've missed an entire day of things that you were looking forward to, that you worked hard to expose, and you made a fatal mistake. Those make you appreciate when you actually do something right and get your photos successfully off of a roll. But it also just makes you more attuned and pay more attention to the process. You'll probably only make that mistake once, maybe twice, but you learn so much from those fatal mistakes. They are absolutely devastating. They suck so bad, but they're good for you because they put you in check real fast. So I think that's kind of a bit of a pro, albeit a con. Taught me a lot of patience, being patient with myself, my development, waiting for photos, not getting that instant gratification of shooting something and looking. You just gotta trust yourself, learn patience, trust the process. I like that a lot. Still working on it. I'm still gonna pay for same day scans, but I think it was definitely a pro. I'd say one of the last pros is a better understanding of light. I used to just kind of send it. Wouldn't matter what time of day it was, because I would rely on being able to get anything to look any way I wanted in post after the fact if I couldn't nail it to my preference in camera. But now in shooting film with Patience and all the other pros that I've just gone over, I'm waiting for the better light. I've got a better understanding of light, how to expose light in different situations, and how to make literally anything look fantastic. This picture is incredible because of the light. Now, I might have just shot that in a rush and tried to replicate that in Photoshop or Lightroom somehow if it didn't come out the way I wanted, but I stood there for 40 minutes with my Sunseeker app, watching the sun and the clouds, knowing that like in 25 minutes, I would have a very brief opening where a pocket would come through and I could get that shot and fire off 10 on a medium format roll using Kodak Gold because I knew I wanted it to be warm. And then you get a scan back from the lab and it looks like this. No editing. That's not run through Lightroom. That is straight from the lab. That is in and of itself the magic of film photography. And that is a year plus of learning and understanding and failing and succeeding to the point where I can shoot something like that with confidence and know that it comes back from the lab and I can put it straight online. But that was not the case on day one when I was not that good. And I still have so much to learn, but I feel like I can confidently say I am a better photographer now. So the digital camera is back in my bag. I'm gonna keep taking digital photos, but I'm interested to see how those photos will change and how my digital photography itself will change after this year-long experiment. I can be honest, I didn't know that I would last a year when I got the cameras and I started shooting film. It was exciting for the first month, and then it was hard, and then it was frustrating, and then 2 months in, I was, can I make this happen? And what do I make for content? Like, a lot of hurdles to jump over, but I'm glad that I jumped over them because then it just transitioned into this like beautiful art form that became easy and second nature that made me love everything all the more. So I think that's gonna translate into my digital photography now, and I'm curious to see how that changes my style. If it doesn't change my style, if I just go straight back to the way I used to shoot, if it's a hybrid mixture of the two. But what I can say is that I did improve. I like my work more now than I ever have. So what did I learn? Quitting digital photography for a year, not putting in the work and expecting different results gets you nowhere. That is a vicious cycle that goes round and round and round, and you're on that hamster wheel, hoping with good creative intentions, wanting to get better, but you're on the wheel. There's no way to get off that wheel. The only way to truly get better at something is fully investing into the process of getting better. Sometimes that's going backwards. Sometimes that's zooming out and looking at the macro of things, not the micro. I was under the pretense that if I just kept shooting, the years stacked on to how long I've been shooting equaled experience and growth. I've been shooting for 20 years. I've been shooting for 21 years. I've been shooting for 22 years. I'm obviously going to just keep getting better the longer I've been doing this. But without actually investing in myself and looking inward, that was never gonna happen. I was just expecting to get better because I've been doing it for so long. Don't expect results. You have to go get them. You have to go make them. Sometimes that's hard, sometimes that's easy, but it's always worth it.